Today, President Trump's border czar told reporters that undocumented immigrants living illegally in the United States.
In a shocking move that's already sending shockwaves across the nation, Donald Trump just expanded the powers of law enforcement like never before to tackle immigration head-on. New emergency measures have been signed, and if you thought the border situation was tense before, it's about to escalate even further. What exactly did Trump authorize? Who will be affected? And why is this happening now? Let's break down this massive development. In a move that's already sparking fierce debate across the country, Donald Trump has officially launched a new series of emergency measures designed to strengthen immigration enforcement. Through an executive order, Trump is granting unprecedented powers to law enforcement agencies, aiming to dramatically escalate the crackdown on undocumented immigrants. This aggressive strategy is being framed as an urgent response to what he calls an out-of-control border crisis that, according to him, threatens the safety and sovereignty of the United States. Under the new directive, agencies like ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Customs and Border Protection, and even local and state police forces are authorized to conduct operations with far fewer restrictions. Officers will now have enhanced authority to detain individuals they suspect of being in the country illegally, even without a prior warrant or court order. In addition, the process for deportation is being streamlined to allow faster removals, bypassing several legal steps that previously provided more time and rights to immigrants. One of the most controversial parts of this measure is the expansion of expedited removal, a fast-track deportation process that can now apply to undocumented immigrants found anywhere in the U.S., not just within 100 miles of the border as before. Critics argue this change could result in wrongful detentions and mass deportations, with individuals having little opportunity to defend themselves in court. Trump's administration insists that these new powers are necessary because, in their view, traditional immigration systems have been overwhelmed. They argue that the surge of migrants at the southern border, combined with rising concerns about crime and national security, left no choice but to take extraordinary action. Trump has described the situation as a full-blown emergency that demands total authority for officers tasked with protecting American citizens. Supporters of the move believe this is a bold step toward restoring law and order. They claim previous administrations were too soft, allowing loopholes to be exploited by those entering the country illegally. However, immigration advocates, human rights organizations, and many legal experts are sounding the alarm, warning that such sweeping powers could lead to racial profiling, wrongful arrests, and severe damage to the trust between law enforcement and immigrant communities. The emergency measures are set to take effect immediately, and the first waves of enforcement operations could begin within days. The nation is now bracing for a new chapter in America's ongoing immigration battle, one that could reshape countless lives in the months ahead. The timing of Trump's new immigration crackdown is no coincidence. It comes at a critical moment when national politics, public frustration, and Trump's own political ambitions are intersecting in a dramatic way. As the 2024 presidential election draws closer, Trump is once again placing immigration at the center of his campaign strategy, just like he did in 2016. But this time, he's pushing even harder. According to political analysts, Trump sees immigration not just as a policy issue, but as an emotional trigger that can rally his base and reignite the populist energy that first brought him to power. By portraying the southern border as under siege, he is tapping into widespread anxieties about national security, cultural change, and economic pressure. Trump believes that taking a hardline stance and showing bold, forceful action will strengthen his image as the only leader willing to do whatever it takes to protect the country. Beyond political strategy, there are real pressures fueling this move. Border crossings have surged to record highs over the past year, with news reports frequently showing overwhelmed detention centers and chaotic scenes at entry points. Many Americans, even some who traditionally favor immigration, have expressed concerns about the system's ability to handle such large numbers. Trump is seizing on these fears, framing the situation as a full-blown emergency that requires extraordinary action. Another major factor is the ongoing battle with the Biden administration. Trump has repeatedly accused President Biden of creating a border disaster through policies he claims are weak and ineffective. By announcing these emergency measures, Trump is not just addressing the immigration issue, he's drawing a sharp contrast with his political rival, signaling to voters that if he returns to office, he will impose swift and uncompromising control. Moreover, Trump's advisors have reportedly urged him to stay in the media spotlight with bold moves that dominate headlines. A sweeping immigration crackdown guarantees national attention, fierce debate, and emotional reactions, all elements that keep Trump at the center of the political conversation. In short, Trump's decision to expand law enforcement powers is about much more than just immigration. It's a calculated move designed to project strength, stir public emotions, and fortify his campaign narrative as America heads into one of the most divisive election seasons in modern history. The stakes are high, and Trump is betting everything on going even harder than before. The new emergency measures signed by Donald Trump deliver sweeping and controversial powers to law enforcement agencies tasked with immigration control. Under these changes, officers now have significantly broader authority to act without the traditional checks and balances that once slowed down deportations and detentions. One of the most striking shifts is the expansion of expedited removal. Before, this fast-track process only applied to undocumented immigrants apprehended near the border within a short period of arrival. Now, under Trump's new order, expedited removal can be applied anywhere in the U.S. and to individuals who cannot quickly prove they've been legally in the country for more than 2 years. This means immigration officers can arrest and deport individuals within days, often without them ever appearing before a judge. Law enforcement agencies are also being encouraged to increase workplace raids and community sweeps, using aggressive tactics to locate and detain undocumented individuals. Local police departments, previously limited in what immigration enforcement they could carry out, are being given expanded cooperation agreements with federal agencies like ICE, allowing them to participate more directly in immigration operations. In addition, officers can now bypass certain legal notifications that were previously required before detaining individuals suspected of immigration violations. This raises serious concerns among civil rights groups, who fear it could lead to wrongful arrests based simply on appearance, language, or community profiling. Trump's team argues that these powers are necessary to restore law and order and to rapidly address what they describe as a border invasion. However, critics warn that such sweeping authority could erode constitutional protections and ignite widespread fear in immigrant communities across the nation. These new powers represent one of the most aggressive expansions of immigration enforcement authority in modern U.S. history, and the true consequences may unfold rapidly in the coming weeks. The impact of Trump's expanded immigration crackdown could be swift and deeply felt across countless communities in the United States. Immigrant neighborhoods, already on edge from previous enforcement actions, are bracing for a wave of fear, uncertainty, and disruption unlike anything seen before. With law enforcement agencies now empowered to act more aggressively, undocumented individuals, even those who have lived peacefully in the U.S. for years, face a dramatically higher risk of detention and deportation. Families could be torn apart, with little to no warning. Routine activities like going to work, taking children to school, or visiting a hospital could suddenly become dangerous for those without legal status. Beyond undocumented immigrants, even legal residents and U.S. citizens could feel the ripple effects. Civil rights groups warn that racial profiling could rise sharply, with people being stopped, questioned, or detained based solely on their appearance, language, or accent. Trust between immigrant communities and local police, already fragile in many areas, could collapse completely, making it harder for law enforcement to solve crimes and maintain public safety. Businesses that rely heavily on immigrant labor, from agriculture to construction to hospitality, may also suffer. Mass detentions could create labor shortages, disrupt local economies, and spark a new wave of legal challenges against the government. The emotional toll cannot be ignored either. Fear of raids and sudden arrests may drive people into the shadows, avoiding schools, clinics, and public spaces. Children of immigrant families, many of them U.S. citizens, could face the trauma of losing parents overnight. In short, Trump's emergency measures don't just target undocumented immigrants. They could reshape entire communities, deepen divisions, and unleash a new era of fear across the country. with consequences that could linger long after the enforcement ends. With Trump's emergency measures now in motion, the next few weeks could mark a critical turning point for immigration policy and for American society as a whole. Law enforcement agencies are expected to ramp up operations almost immediately, leading to a sharp rise in detentions, deportations, and high-prevalent raids across the country. However, legal battles are also looming on the horizon. Civil rights organizations, immigrant advocacy groups, and even some state governments are already preparing lawsuits to challenge the new powers. They argue that Trump's actions violate constitutional rights and bypass due process protections. Courts across the country could soon be flooded with cases seeking to block or limit the enforcement of these new measures. At the political level, the crackdown is guaranteed to intensify an already polarized national debate. Supporters of Trump will likely applaud the tough new stance, seeing it as a necessary step to restore order and sovereignty. Meanwhile, critics will frame it as an assault on basic human rights and an attempt to use fear as a political weapon ahead of the 2024 election. On the ground, immigrant communities are expected to mobilize quickly. Protests, marches, and public demonstrations could erupt in major cities as people push back against what they see as an unjust and aggressive campaign. Internationally, human rights organizations and foreign governments may also raise concerns, putting additional pressure on the United States' global image. In short, America is now entering a period of high tension and uncertainty. Whether Trump's emergency measures succeed, get blocked in court, or ignite a broader movement remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the battle over immigration is far from over, and the next chapter could be the most explosive yet.